In the year 2350, the galaxy was a tapestry of alliances, conflicts, and ancient mysteries. Among the most influential factions were the United Earth Federation, UEF, and the Zalorian Empire. The Zalorians, known for their advanced technology and rigid societal structure, maintained a fragile peace with the UEF, a coalition of human-inhabited worlds. Despite the diplomatic efforts, tensions simmered beneath the surface, ready to ignite at any moment. Captain Daniel Ross of the UEF was stationed on Elysium 9, a strategic outpost on the edge of explored space. Elysium 9 was a hub for monitoring and protecting trade routes, as well as guarding against pirate activity. Ross, a seasoned soldier, found the assignment monotonous but necessary. His primary responsibility was to ensure the safety of the outpost and its inhabitants. One night, the serenity of Elysium 9 was shattered by a piercing alarm. Ross, who had been reviewing reports in his quarters, immediately sprang into action. The control room was abuzz with activity as officers scrambled to assess the situation. "Captain, we've detected a distress signal," reported Lieutenant Jessica Hale, the outpost's communications officer. Her face was tense as she looked up from her console. Ross frowned. "Can you identify the source?" Hale's fingers danced over the controls. "It's a Zalorian ship, sir, and it's heavily damaged." Ross's heart raced. The Zalorians rarely ventured into UEF space without a clear purpose. "Prepare a rescue team. We need to investigate and offer assistance." Within minutes, Ross and his team were suited up and aboard a shuttle, racing towards the coordinates of the distress signal. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and alarming. A Zalorian royal cruiser, its sleek design unmistakable, drifted in space, its hull scarred and leaking atmosphere. "Get us closer," Ross commanded. "We need to board and see if there are any survivors." The shuttle docked with the cruiser, and Ross led his team through the airlock. The interior of the ship was a scene of chaos, sparking wires, fallen debris, and the occasional groan of the hull as it strained against the void. They moved quickly and methodically, searching for any signs of life. "Captain, over here!" shouted Sergeant Mark Drayton, his flashlight illuminating a figure trapped under a collapsed bulkhead. Ross rushed over, helping Drayton lift the debris. Beneath it was a Zalorian woman, her ornate armor marking her as someone of great importance. Her pale blue skin was marred by cuts and bruises, and her eyes fluttered open, revealing a mixture of pain and confusion. "Please, help me," she whispered, her voice weak but resolute. Ross's heart skipped a beat as he realized who she was. Princess Aloria, heir to the Zalorian throne, known throughout the galaxy for her intelligence and grace. The implications of her presence here were staggering. "We've got you, Princess. You're safe now," Ross reassured her, his tone gentle but firm. He signaled for a medic, who quickly assessed her injuries and began administering first aid. As they worked to stabilize her, the ship's structural integrity continued to deteriorate. "We need to get out of here, now," Ross commanded. They carefully carried Aloria back to the shuttle, navigating the treacherous path with practiced ease. The shuttle disengaged from the cruiser just as it began to break apart. Ross watched the destruction from the viewport, his mind filled with questions. Why was the princess here? What had happened to her ship? Back at the outpost, Aloria was rushed to the medical bay, where she received further treatment. Ross stayed by her side, his protective instincts on high alert. Despite her weakened state, Aloria managed to convey her gratitude. "Thank you, Captain Ross," she said softly, her eyes locking onto his with a depth of emotion that took him by surprise. "Just doing my duty, Your Highness," he replied, feeling a strange mix of humility and pride. Over the next few days, Aloria's condition improved, and she began to reveal more about the events that led to her arrival. She had been on a diplomatic mission, seeking to negotiate a truce with a rogue faction within the Zalorian Empire. However, her ship had been ambushed by pirates, and she barely managed to escape with her life. Ross listened intently, admiring her courage and determination. Despite the political complexities, he felt a growing sense of responsibility towards her. Protecting her was no longer just a duty, it was a personal mission. As word of Aloria's presence spread, the outpost became a hub of activity. Diplomatic envoys from both the UEF and the Zolorian Empire arrived, eager to ensure her safety and discuss the implications of her near-fatal encounter. One evening, as the outpost's officers gathered to debrief, a transmission came through from the Zolorian capital. It was Emperor Kahlus, Eloria's father, his regal bearing and stern expression dominating the screen. "Captain Ross," the Emperor began, his voice resonating with authority, "I understand you have rescued my daughter. For this, you have my gratitude. However, the situation remains perilous. The pirates who attacked her are part of a larger conspiracy that threatens both our empires." Ross nodded, his expression serious. "We'll do everything we can to protect the princess and uncover the truth behind this conspiracy." Kahlus's gaze softened slightly. "Eloria speaks highly of you, Captain. I trust you will not let her down." The days that followed were a whirlwind of strategic planning and covert operations. Ross and Eloria worked closely, forging an unexpected bond as they navigated the complexities of their situation. Despite the gravity of their mission, moments of levity and understanding broke through, revealing the human side of their connection. One night, as they reviewed intelligence reports in the command center, Eloria turned to Ross with a thoughtful expression. "Captain, why do you fight? What drives you to risk your life for others?" Ross paused, considering her question. "I fight because I believe in protecting those who can't protect themselves. Because I've seen what happens when good people do nothing. And because it's the right thing to do." Eloria nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of admiration and sadness. "In many ways, we are similar. I have always sought to bring peace and understanding between our peoples, but sometimes the cost of peace is higher than we can bear." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the communications officer. "Captain, we've detected a fleet of pirate ships approaching the outpost. They're heavily armed and heading straight for us." Ross sprang into action, his mind focused and sharp. "Prepare all defenses. We can't let them get to the princess." The outpost was a flurry of activity as soldiers and officers took their positions. Ross and Eloria stood side by side, their determination unwavering. The pirate fleet loomed on the horizon, a dark reminder of the danger they faced. As the battle commenced, Ross coordinated the defense with precision, his strategic mind proving invaluable. Eloria, despite her royal status, insisted on helping, using her knowledge of Zolorian technology to bolster their efforts. The clash was intense and brutal, the outpost shaking under the relentless assault. But Ross's leadership and the resilience of his team began to turn the tide. One by one, the pirate ships were destroyed, their remnants scattering into the void. In the aftermath of the battle, the outpost stood battered but victorious. Ross and Eloria surveyed the damage, their bond strengthened by the shared experience. "You were incredible out there," Ross said, his admiration for Eloria evident. "And you, Captain, are a true leader," she replied, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for saving me and for fighting by my side." Their victory was a turning point, not just in the battle against the pirates, but in the relationship between the UEF and the Zolorian Empire. Eloria's mission of diplomacy gained new urgency, and Ross found himself drawn into a deeper alliance with her and her people. As the stars glittered in the night sky, Ross and Eloria stood together, contemplating the future. Their paths, once so different, had converged in an unexpected and profound way. The battle at Elysium 9 had not only solidified the bond between Captain Daniel Ross and Princess Eloria, but also exposed the depth of the conspiracy threatening both the United Earth Federation, UEF, and the Zolorian Empire. As they began to piece together the fragments of information, it became clear that their enemies were more organized and influential than they had initially believed. Back at the outpost, Ross and Eloria, along with their trusted team, delved deeper into the data recovered from the pirate ships. Lieutenant Jessica Hale and Sergeant Mark Drayton worked tirelessly, sifting through encrypted files and intercepted communications. "Captain, we found something," Hale announced, her voice tinged with urgency. "There's a series of coded messages between the pirates and an unknown entity. It appears they've been receiving orders and supplies from a source deep within Zolorian space." Aloria's eyes narrowed as she studied the data on the screen. This confirms my worst fears. There are factions within my own empire conspiring with these pirates. We must uncover their identities and motives. Ross nodded. Agreed, but we need more than just data. We need to infiltrate their network and find out who's pulling the strings. Any leads on where to start? Drayton pointed to a location on the star map. There's a hidden base in the nebula expanse. According to these messages, it's a key supply depot for the pirates. If we can capture it, we might get the information we need. Ross's mind raced as he formulated a plan. All right, we'll launch a covert operation. We'll take a small team to minimize detection and hit them hard and fast. Eloria, your knowledge of Zolorian technology will be crucial. Are you up for it? Eloria met his gaze with determination. Absolutely. This is as much my fight as it is yours. Let's end this conspiracy once and for all. The preparation for the mission was swift and efficient. Ross selected a team of skilled operatives, including Hale for her technical expertise and Drayton for his combat prowess. Eloria insisted on joining them, despite Ross's initial reservations. Her knowledge of the enemy and her drive to protect her people made her an invaluable asset. The journey to the nebula expanse was fraught with tension. The team traveled in a stealth ship designed to evade enemy sensors and slip through the dense nebula undetected. As they approached the hidden base, the sense of danger heightened. We're coming up on the coordinates, Hale reported, her eyes scanning the readouts. No signs of detection so far. Good, Ross replied. Keep it that way. Drayton, prepare the team for insertion. Eloria, stay close and watch our backs. The ship glided silently through the nebula, its cloaking technology blending seamlessly with the surrounding gas clouds. As they neared the base, a massive structure loomed out of the fog, its dark silhouette a stark contrast against the swirling colors of the nebula. The team disembarked and moved quickly, using the element of surprise to their advantage. Inside the base, they encountered minimal resistance at first, but the deeper they went, the more heavily defended it became. Stay sharp, Ross whispered, his voice barely audible through the comms. We need to find their command center and access their mainframe. Navigating through the labyrinthine corridors, the team engaged in brief but intense skirmishes with the base's defenders. Eloria's knowledge of Zolorian technology proved invaluable, allowing them to bypass security systems and access restricted areas. As they reached the command center, they encountered a heavily fortified position. This is it, Ross said. Drayton, take point. Hale, get ready to hack their systems. Eloria, stay with me. The assault was swift and precise. Drayton's team breached the defenses, neutralizing the guards with expert efficiency. Hale quickly moved to the main console, her fingers flying over the controls as she bypassed layers of encryption. We're in, she announced, downloading all data now. As the files transferred, alarms blared throughout the base. Reinforcements were closing in. We need to move now, Ross commanded. Drayton, cover our exit. Hale, how much longer? Almost there. Done, she replied, pulling a data chip from the console. Let's go. The team fought their way back to the extraction point, the base's corridors echoing with the sounds of battle. They boarded their ship and launched, just as enemy ships began to converge on their position. Punch it, Ross ordered. The ship's engines roared to life, propelling them through the nebula at breakneck speed. They evaded the pursuing ships, their cloaking technology rendering them nearly invisible. Back at the outpost, the team reviewed the data they had recovered. The files were extensive, detailing the full extent of the conspiracy. High-ranking officials within the Zolorian Empire were implicated, their motives ranging from personal gain to radical ideologies. This goes deeper than we thought, Eloria said, her voice filled with a mix of anger and determination. We need to expose these traitors and bring them to justice. Ross agreed. But we need to be careful. If we move too quickly, they'll go to ground. We need to gather more evidence and plan our next steps. Over the following weeks, Ross and Eloria worked tirelessly, coordinating with UEF intelligence and loyal Zolorian forces. They conducted a series of covert operations, capturing key figures and uncovering critical evidence. Each success brought them closer to dismantling the conspiracy, but the danger remained ever present. One night, as they pored over their findings in the command center, Eloria turned to Ross with a thoughtful expression. "Captain, what do you think will happen after this? After we've brought these conspirators to justice?" Ross paused, considering her question. "I think we'll have a chance for real peace. Not just between our peoples, but for the entire galaxy. But it won't be easy. There will always be those who seek to exploit and divide. We have to be vigilant." Eloria nodded. "You're right, and I believe we can do it. Together, we can build a future where all can thrive." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the communications officer. "Captain, we've intercepted a transmission. It's from one of the conspirators. They're planning a major attack on both UEF and Zalorian capitals. They intend to incite a full-scale war." Ross's heart sank. "We need to stop them. Hale, get me a secure line to Admiral Hayes and Emperor Kahlus. We need to coordinate a response." The transmission was sent, and within minutes, Ross and Eloria were in a secure conference with the leaders of both factions. Admiral Hayes and Emperor Kahlus listened intently as Ross outlined the threat. "We must act swiftly," Hayes said, his expression grave. "This attack could devastate both our civilizations." Kahlus nodded. "Agreed. We will mobilize our forces and prepare for the worst. But we need to find and neutralize these conspirators before they can strike." Ross and Eloria led a joint task force, comprised of UEF and Zalorian soldiers, in a race against time to stop the impending attack. Their efforts took them to the dark corners of the galaxy, from abandoned space stations to hidden bunkers on remote planets. In a final, desperate push, they tracked the conspirators to a secret base on Dagon Prime, a desolate world known for its treacherous terrain and hostile environment. The base was heavily fortified, but Ross and Eloria's determination and tactical brilliance guided their team through the defenses. The battle was fierce and chaotic, the air filled with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. Ross and Eloria fought side by side, their bond of trust and camaraderie unwavering. They breached the inner sanctum of the base, confronting the leader of the conspiracy, a high-ranking Zalorian official named Lord Varkas. "You're too late," Varkas sneered, his eyes filled with madness. "The seeds of war have already been sown. You cannot stop what is to come." Ross leveled his weapon at Varkas, his voice cold and determined. "We'll see about that." The final battle was fierce and chaotic. Karnak's followers fought with desperation, but they were no match for the disciplined and united forces of the UEF and the Zalorians. Ross and Eloria faced Karnak in a brutal showdown, their combined strength overwhelming him. As Karnak fell, the remaining insurgents surrendered, their will to fight broken. The victory on Thanatos was a decisive blow to the remnants of Varkas's network, signaling the end of their threat. Back on Earth, the news of their victory was met with relief and celebration. The successful joint operation on Thanatos solidified the alliance and demonstrated the power of unity. Ross and Eloria's leadership had not only defeated a common enemy, but had also paved the way for a lasting peace. Admiral Hayes addressed a gathering of UEF and Zalorian leaders, his voice filled with pride and hope. "Today we stand on the threshold of a new era. The bravery and determination of Captain Ross and Princess Eloria have shown us the true path to peace. Together we have faced and overcome great threats. Together we will build a future of unity and prosperity." Emperor Kahlus echoed his sentiments. "The alliance between our peoples is a testament to what we can achieve when we set aside our differences and work together. Let this be the foundation upon which we build a brighter future for all." Ross and Eloria stood together, reflecting on their journey. They had faced unimaginable challenges and forged an unbreakable bond. Their partnership had not only saved their people, but had also set the stage for a lasting peace. "We did it," Eloria said softly, her eyes shining with emotion. "Yes, we did," Ross replied, his heart filled with a sense of accomplishment and hope. "And this is just the beginning." The story of Captain Daniel Ross and Princess Eloria was one of bravery, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity's spirit could not be broken. The war against the conspirators had been won, but the fight for a better future continued. The victory on Dagon Prime marked a critical turning point in the ongoing struggle against the conspiracy that threatened the United Earth Federation, UEF, and the Zolorian Empire. With Lord Varkas and his followers defeated, Captain Daniel Ross and Princess Eloria found themselves at the forefront of a burgeoning alliance that promised to reshape the future of the galaxy. Back at the UEF headquarters, Ross and Eloria were celebrated as heroes. Their efforts had not only saved countless lives, but had also set the stage for a new era of cooperation and mutual respect between their peoples. The implications of their victory resonated throughout both empires, inspiring hope and optimism. As the galaxy slowly began to stabilize, Ross and Eloria, along with their trusted team, focused on consolidating their gains and ensuring that the remnants of the conspiracy could not rise again. Their efforts were supported by a newfound determination from both UEF and Zolorian leaders, who recognized the importance of unity in the face of common threats. One evening, amidst the planning and strategizing, Admiral Jonathan Hayes called a special meeting. The room was filled with key figures from both factions, their faces reflecting the gravity of the moment. Captain Ross, Princess Eloria, Hayes began, his voice steady and commanding. Your actions have brought us to the brink of a new era, but our work is far from over. We need to solidify this alliance and ensure that our peoples understand the importance of unity. Eloria nodded, her expression resolute. Agreed, Admiral. We must address the root causes of this division and work towards a comprehensive peace. This means engaging with those who still harbor resentment and fear. Ross leaned forward, his eyes reflecting determination. We need to take this message to both our peoples, show them the strength that comes from standing together. But we also need to be prepared to defend this peace against those who would see it undone. Over the following months, Ross and Eloria embarked on a series of diplomatic missions, visiting key UEF and Zolorian worlds. They held public forums, met with leaders, and spoke directly to the people, sharing their vision for a united future. Their efforts were met with a mix of enthusiasm and skepticism, but slowly the tide began to turn. During a visit to Lyra Prime, a key Zolorian world known for its strategic importance and cultural significance, Ross and Eloria faced one of their most significant challenges. The planet had been a hotbed of resistance against the UEF, with many of its inhabitants still bitter over past conflicts. The Grand Hall of Lyra Prime's capital city was filled with delegates, officials, and citizens, all eager to hear what the human captain and the Zolorian princess had to say. As they took the stage, the atmosphere was tense. Eloria stepped forward first, her voice calm and confident. People of Lyra Prime, I stand before you not just as your princess, but as someone who has seen firsthand the strength that comes from unity. Together, Captain Ross and I have faced and overcome great challenges. Our differences are not weaknesses. They are strengths that, when combined, make us stronger. Ross followed, his tone resolute. We are stronger together. The threats we face, pirates, conspirators, and those who seek to divide us, can only be overcome if we stand united. I have seen the courage and resilience of the Zolorian people, and I am honored to fight alongside you. The crowd's initial silence gave way to murmurs of agreement and applause. The message was clear, and slowly the resistance began to thaw. Their words sparked hope and a desire for a better future, one where cooperation replaced conflict. As their diplomatic tour continued, Ross and Eloria received word of a renewed threat. Varkas's remaining followers, emboldened by the recent turmoil, had regrouped and were planning a series of attacks to disrupt the peace process. Intelligence reports indicated that they were gathering on Thanatos, a desolate moon known for its harsh conditions and lawless territories. Admiral Hayes convened an emergency meeting. We can't allow Varkas's followers to destabilize the region. We need to take the fight to them and put an end to this once and for all. Ross and Eloria volunteered to lead the assault, determined to see their mission through to the end. They assembled a joint task force of UEF and Zolorian soldiers, their combined strength a symbol of their newfound alliance. The journey to Thanatos was fraught with danger. The moon's surface was a barren wasteland, its landscape scarred by ancient battles and natural disasters. As they approached the enemy's stronghold, the team prepared for a fierce confrontation. The assault on the base was swift and brutal. Ross and Eloria led their troops with precision and determination, their strategic minds and combat skills complementing each other perfectly. The fighting was intense, but the combined forces of the UEF and the Zalorians proved unstoppable. As they breached the inner sanctum of the base, they confronted the leader of the insurgents, a fanatic named Karnak. Karnak was a zealot, driven by a twisted ideology and a deep hatred for the Alliance. "You think you can stop us?" Karnak sneered, his eyes blazing with fanaticism. "We will never accept your so-called peace." Ross stepped forward, his weapon trained on Karnak. "It's over, Karnak. Your rebellion ends here." The final battle was fierce and chaotic. Karnak's followers fought with desperation, but they were no match for the disciplined and united forces of the UEF and the Zalorians. Ross and Eloria faced Karnak in a brutal showdown, their combined strength overwhelming him. As Karnak fell, the remaining insurgents surrendered, their will to fight broken. The victory on Thanatos was a decisive blow to the remnants of Varkus's network, signaling the end of their threat. Back on Earth, the news of their victory was met with relief and celebration. The successful joint operation on Thanatos solidified the alliance and demonstrated the power of unity. Ross and Eloria's leadership had not only defeated a common enemy, but had also paved the way for a lasting peace. Admiral Hayes addressed a gathering of UEF and Zalorian leaders, his voice filled with pride and hope. "Today we stand on the threshold of a new era. The bravery and determination of Captain Ross and Princess Eloria have shown us the true path to peace. Together we have faced and overcome great threats. Together we will build a future of unity and prosperity." Emperor Kalis echoed his sentiments. "The alliance between our peoples is a testament to what we can achieve when we set aside our differences and work together. Let this be the foundation upon which we build a brighter future for all." Ross and Eloria stood together, reflecting on their journey. They had faced unimaginable challenges and forged an unbreakable bond. Their partnership had not only saved their people, but had also set the stage for a lasting peace. "We did it," Eloria said softly, her eyes shining with emotion. "Yes, we did," Ross replied, his heart filled with a sense of accomplishment and hope. "And this is just the beginning." The story of Captain Daniel Ross and Princess Eloria was one of bravery, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity's spirit could not be broken. The war against the conspirators had been won, but the fight for a better future continued. Thus ended the third chapter of their journey, with new challenges, alliances, and discoveries awaiting them in the chapters to come. The end.